Travis from UtvWindowTint. Today, I'm going to show you how to tint an ADV5. This is the Polaris Xpedition with the copper. So what we're going to do today is we're going to get this machine prepped. We're applying Pro Nano 20% on the machine with 50% on the windshield. So we're going to do all the sides in 20, including the back window. So let's talk about what you need to do this. So if you order the kit from us, it's going to come with, you can option the tint squeegee. So it's going to be a pink soft squeegee, a conquistador, and then a gasket tool. These are all going to be important. I would suggest when you order your kits, you get these. Additionally, you're going to need a clean source of water, a spray bottle, and some Dawn dish soap. I find that Dawn is the best. It gives you the most slip. We'll kind of get into that in a second. And then you're going to want some clean glass towels. These are going to be important. You'll need some razor blades also to do this. Other than that, you'll need a like a beach towel to put over the top of the dash if you're doing a banner or a windshield. So let's talk about the Dawn dish soap. You're going to want like distilled water, or if you have a clean source of water, you're going to want that. You're going to take your spray bottle, you're going to fill it up, and depending on your heat, how warm it is in your environment, and what the humidity level is, you're going to put a couple drops of soap. And I say a couple drops very vaguely because the warmer it is, the more soap you'll need. So today we're supposed to get up into temperatures here in Wisconsin of like 100, 102 real feel. So if you're working in your shop, you'll need a little bit more soap for something like that versus if it was 32 degrees. So let's jump in. We'll show you how to remove the gaskets and how to tint these windows. All right, so I'm on the passenger side of the machine on this ADV5. So what we're gonna do is, the first things first is we're gonna take our soapy water mix. For the sake of the install video, pretend this is your spray bottle. We use what's called a keg here. So I'm just gonna take and I'm gonna spray down the outside of the machine. We're gonna utilize this as our peel board. So I'm just taking a microfiber or glass towel, and I'm just gonna spray down the machine. You would take your spray bottle with the soapy water. It might be, if your machine's really dirty, it might be a good idea to wash the machine before you start this. Cleanliness is the name of the game when it comes to tinting windows. So what we're going to do is we're going to start on this window. On these ADVs, it's very easy. So what you're going to want to do is, once we're inside the machine, you have this gasket. You're going to want to take your fingertip, and you might need a screwdriver, but you're just going to pull this gasket out. It just pulls out like that. Super easy. This is going to allow us to put the film behind here. So now that that's done, we're going to take our microfiber and we're just going to wipe this area right here. So I'm just going to spray and wipe this area. What that's going to do is it's going to prevent us from potentially getting any sort of dirt into our film area or into our film as we work. And I'm just going to give the window a general wipe. So now what you're going to do is you're going to take your single-edged razor blade. I prefer to get, especially if your machine's dirty, you'll go through 4 or 5 of these on a machine. You're going to wet the bottom part of your window. So right now we're just doing the bottom like 5 to 6 inches, and we're just going to razor blade the whole glass. And I want to make sure when I razor blade, I'm getting behind its gasket on the sides. And I'm just going to wet that. I'm going to do it again. So this is a brand new machine. I'm not hearing any grit, but on older machines that I've tinted in the past, I hear the grit. So you basically want to razor blade until that grit stops. So on this machine, not going to be a big deal. We're going to roll down this window now. And then we're going to take a clean glass towel, and we're going to spray near this top edge. And we're going to actually wipe the top of this off. And the reason being is, this is a brand new towel. And you can't really see it, but there's dirt that sits on this lip that could potentially drop into your film. So we want to make sure we get that all off. Otherwise, it's going to end up in your film and kind of wreck your job. So now we're going to razor blade this. We're only got the window down about 2 inches, or not even, about 1 inch to 2 inches. So we're going to razor blade off this window. And we're going to spray it again and razor blade it off again. And then after we razor bladed this for the second time, we're going to show you the film outside of the box. So when the film comes to you, it'll be rolled. You'll have to unroll it, and then you'll have to figure out what side's what and what window belongs where. So I got it unrolled. What I'm going to do is we're going to take this piece and we're going to eye it up. So this is definitely the window. This is definitely the shape of the passenger window. So the liner, which is the extra part of the film, should always be facing towards you. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the outside of this machine as a peel board. I'm going to wet the outside of the door a little bit and then the glass. And I'm going to take it, I'm just going to set this on here. And what I want is I want this to be like touching the machine right here flat, because I'm going to peel this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pink squeegee, I'm just going to kind of anchor this to the glass. So when I go to peel my liner, the film's going to stay stationary to the machine, but the liner is going to come off. So if you come here and look closer, you have the liner, the extra. The liner, once you expose, that's actually the film, the sticky side of it. So you don't want dirt on there. So when I go to peel this, I'll wet this. So we'll show you that in a second. So I'm going to open this up. I'm then going to take our install tool, this guy right here, and I'm going to wet the door down. And then I'm going to just squeegee this off. If you have a used machine, I would recommend doing this twice. You're going to use this tool to get behind the gaskets, and you're going to push all of the potential dirt and contamination that's on the glass downwards. And I just want to flush this out. Now what I want to do is I want to take our soapy water mix, spray the glass, get that completely covered, kind of creating a rinse effect. And then I'm going to come out to the outside. I'm going to peel my liner all the way off, and I'm going to fill that in the garbage. And I'm going to wet this. I'm going to make sure that I'm not rinsing dirt from above the glass in. And then this is important. I'm going to pinch it right here. I'm going to carry it on the back of my hand. I'm going to open the door. It's important that this film doesn't touch anything else besides the glass. So now that I got it kind of carried, I'm going to drop this in. And again, this is where the soapy water really takes a play, because it gives me the ability to slide this film. So we're going to drop this in, and we're going to get this lined up. So all of our patterns here at UtvWindowTint are test fitted. So we make sure that the patterns actually fit really well. We make adjustments if need be. Other vendors will not do that. They'll just do the cookie cutter templates. We have made a lot of adjustments to these patterns to make them fit better. So now what we're going to do is keep our top edge lined up and just check to make sure we're happy it's not going to peel or anything. We don't want to be over the top edge. Having the soapy water, enough soap, helps you slip this around and get it in position of where it needs to be. So now I'm going to take my pink install tool and I'm just going to squeegee out some of that soapy water. And then what I actually want to do is I want to spray my soapy water on the glass, and I want to do a second pass. Just trying to push out as much water between the film and the glass as possible. And then I'm going to take my other install tool. I'm going to go behind the gasket and push this stuff out here. And then we're going to roll up the window, and we're going to push all of this down. You want to make sure that you put your thumb on the glass up here, so that way you can feel, you're kind of putting pressure on the film, but you also want to make sure that you feel that the pattern isn't slipping down. So that's completely installed. What you're going to do at this point is wipe off your door panel. It's nice to have an extra microfiber. You can immediately put in your gasket, or you can let it sit with the gasket out until the machine's completely tinted. And then what you want to do is just shut your window and just double check your work. See right there, I missed squeegeeing this out. So I just wanted to make sure I push that bubble out, so that way it doesn't dry into the film. So that's how you do the passenger front. We'll move on to the passenger rear door here in a second. All right, so we're on this passenger rear window. So what we're going to do is we're going to take off this bottom gasket just like we did on the passenger front window. I'm just using a plastic tool to pry it out. So this is it. It's out. Again, we're just going to razor blade the bottom. We're going to actually take and we're going to want to wipe our frame and everything around it. So we're just going to take a microfiber. We're just going to wipe this frame around. And then we're just going to razor blade all of this down. Again, I'm at home. I would suggest you guys razor blade this twice if you're not working on a new machine. I don't hear any dirt, so I'm probably just going to razor blade this once as I do it twice. So I want to make sure that I'm getting behind the gasket, getting below. We're going to roll down our top edge. we're gonna wipe our top edge. So we're gonna wipe, and then we're going to wet that and razor blade that. So window tinting is all in the cleanliness of how clean you can get the window before you start. So make sure that like if your machine's really dusty, you really give the inside a good wipe down and a good clean. This came straight from the dealer here, so this has never been ridden. I don't know how many miles are on this. It's a 2025, but it is brand new. So I'm gonna wet this. I'm gonna take our install tool and I'm gonna squeegee. I'm getting behind the gasket and I'm wiping off each time I come off the glass. So I got the film set up on what we call a peel board. At this point, you would place it on the outside of the glass, liner side towards yourself, peel the full thing, and then wet your window and go down. I'm gonna do it off my peel board here. So I'm gonna wet this down. I got the glass completely wet. I'm gonna come and I'm gonna rip off my whole liner and I'm gonna carry this in without touching anything but the glass itself. So if you look at my carry, I'm using the back of my hand right here to carry the film. And we're gonna come in here and I'm just gonna drop this edge in. I'm keeping the top away and I'm just allowing this to slide down. Again, this is where the soapy water really helps you install. So now that this is installed, I'm going to shift this to the point where I get a nice top edge. I'm very happy with the way that top edge looks. I don't have light gaps on either side. And I'm going to squeegee it out and push it all out. Once I'm happy and I've squeegeed out the top half 2 times, I'm going to roll up the window and I'm going to squeegee what's missed downwards. So that's how you install the rear window, the rear passenger window on this machine. Very easy. You want to take your install tool, squeegee out your sides, and then you want to come to the outside and just make sure that you don't have any bubbles, that everything looks good. So this window is good. So we're going to move on to this window here. So this window is also very easy. What you're going to have to do is you're going to have to open up your back window, open up this, and then we're going to go inside there with a microfiber. We're going to wipe around. So we'll get in here, we'll spray this and wipe the frame. If you'll come and look here, there's actually a border around this, and then there's the tabs to remove it. You want to make sure that we're cleaning up here, because when I go to spray some water, any dirt that's up here will get rinsed down into our film area. So we want to make sure that's all clean. So we're going to take and razor blade this all off. Make sure this is clean. Okay, I'm happy with how that razor blade. I'm going to take my pink install tool and I'm going to spray soapy water on here. And I'm going to be kind of mindful to not spray up high because I don't want that stuff into our film. So I'm going to take and I'm going to squeegee this off, squeegee this down, squeegee this down, and squeegee this all down. So now we got everything squeegeed off. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually do that as a dry install. So this is the window. I'm going to place this on the outside of the machine. I've already wiped the outside of the machine, so I'm just going to set this on the outside. And then you're going to want to anchor this with your pink install tool to the glass so it doesn't lift as you peel your liner. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to peel my liner off like this. I'm going to wet this, not rinsing the machine dirt in here. What I mean by that is we don't want to rinse up here. You want to be very cautious. This is where the cleanliness of your machine really matters. Then I'm going to take this piece. I'm going to grab it, pinch it right here. I'm going to carry it on the back of my hand. And what I mean by a dry install is I'm not going to wet the glass in here. And the reason being is I don't want to rinse that dirt from above. So I'm going to place this on the glass right where it needs to go. And just like that. Now, this is going to be a little bit harder to shift because you didn't wet the glass. but if you get it pretty close, it'll still shift around. And you just want to get this lined up so you don't have any light gaps. This is probably the easiest window on the machine to tint. I don't have any light gaps. I like to start squeegeeing this out at the top, and I like to just kind of work my way down, pushing all the soapy water out. Again, you're going to want to do this twice. And that's how you do the cap window. Again, I don't like to spray in here because as you spray, it will mist and run down here. This turned out really clean from what I can see right now. I found that in my experience, this is the cleanest way to install these windows, especially when it comes to a used machine. So that's that. We'll show you the back window next. All right, so we're on the back window. I set my film on the outside of the back glass after wiping it, and then I anchored it down straight across. That's gonna help me in a second here. So I wanna flip this up. These back windows look intimidating, but they're actually fairly straightforward and easy. It kind of sucks because you're working overhead, but we'll make the best of it. This might be where you want your wife or your friend to help you, but I'll show you how to do it yourself. So we're gonna razor blade this all. Again, I would razor blade your machine twice if you have a dirtier machine. This being a 2025 and never trail ridden yet, I'm just gonna razor blade once. The razor blade is in essence getting rid of all the contaminants that are on the glass. You don't want to leave anything that's going to be trapped between the film and the glass. So cleanliness is key. So I'm going to razor blade all of this. I'd probably razor blade this before you set your film on the outside of the glass because it's going to make it easier. Now you're going to take your pink install tool. You're going to wet your glass again. And then you're going to squeegee off any contaminants. So I would start closest towards the latches and work my way towards the hinge, just because the window is sloped a little bit. Gravity is going to help you kind of rinse all the dirt towards that hinge. So we want to be really mindful of all this area, and then this stuff we're going to want to push down that way. And we're wiping off our blade each time we pull it off the glass, just in case there's any contaminants on our blade. We don't want to just be spreading the contaminants around. So at this point, this is all cleaned and prepped. I'm going to fold this down, and this is where your wife or a friend would come in handy, but we're going to do this ourselves. We're going to actually take this, making sure that the tint sticks to the glass, and we're going to wet the film. Again, making sure we don't rinse any contaminants into our film or into our area off the glass. We're going to wet all this, and then we're going to carry this back, and then we're going to have to flip open the hatch. This is where the friend would come in handy, but obviously I just did it. And then we just want to land this on the glass, and once landed on the glass, we're just going to kind of walk it towards the hinge of the topper. So it's all going to fall into place. It's going to go around the hinge, and it's going to go around the strut that holds the glass open. Perfect. A really nice fit. On the lighter films, you just want to make sure that you don't have a light gap. It's easier on the darker films with the contrast to tell that you don't have a light gap. So it fits nice. I have no light gaps. And I'm just going to center out on this. So I'm going to start in the center. I'm just going to work my way out. And you just want to make sure as you're doing this, if you have too much soapy water, this could shift your pattern, and you don't want your pattern to shift. So just being mindful that the pattern is staying put as you do this. Otherwise you will end up with a light gap. So we're going to squeegee all of this out. Boom. And then you're just going to want to go through and squeegee it again after you get this done. I'm going to give this a little miss and then squeegee it out. During your install, you are going to want to wipe off your blade just in case you pick up a piece of dirt on your blade. You don't have to wipe it off every time, but you want to make sure that if you grab something, it's not going to scratch your film. It's a really bad way to go on your tint job. So we're going to squeegee all of this down again, making sure we basically extract all the water. And that's how you do a back window on one of these ADV5s by yourself. It's pretty straightforward. Want to wipe down our back window. You'll want to get a microfiber and clean all this up also. And that's how you do the back window. We'll show you the other side and the windshield here in a second. All right, so I'm on this back passenger. The door doesn't open very far, but again, we have the seal. The machine is pretty dirty on this side. As I've said before, this machine is new, but even though it's new, you still want to wipe down everything. So just use my plastic hard card to pop this gasket out. We're just gonna take a rag, wet down the area, and wipe it like this ledge that's all full of dirt. There's a cobweb right here. We want to make sure we get all that off and that the machine's as clean as possible. So I'm just going to wipe all this down. I would suggest using a microfiber for that. At this point, what we're going to do is we're going to wet the bottom quarter like we have been, and then we're going to razor blade. So I don't hear anything. I gotta turn the key on, and then we're gonna roll down the top. We're gonna roll down the window in order to do the top. So we want our window down about that much. And again, we're gonna wanna wipe this top edge. So we got a nice clean microfiber, and we're gonna wipe this top edge really thoroughly. And you can see how much dirt came off of that. So we want to make sure that that's not going to be in our film. We're going to spray some more soapy water on here. We have the garage doors closed and the fans off, even though it is hot outside. We want to make sure that we don't have a bunch of air movement. Air movement can move dust around, which could drop into your film. So we want to make sure our air movement's really light. Even if you have the doors open, a big gust of wind could blow dirt off of the ground and into your film area. So you want still air. That's the best result, especially when it comes to a big piece of film like your windshield. So again, we razor bladed it. Now we're using the supplied squeegee to squeegee all the soapy water down. We're going to show you the technique of the bottom load. So that it's on the peel board. Again, you would have this on the outside of your machine. We're going to wet the glass, creating a rinse effect. Come over here, we're going to peel the whole liner off, throw a liner in the garbage, wet this. I'm going to pinch right here. This is going to be behind the gaskets, and I'm going to carry on the back of my hand. And then we're going to come over here, not touch anything else but the window, and we're just going to drop this film in. So again, this will take a little bit for you guys. Your first window will be kind of tricky, but as you go on, it becomes easier, especially if you got the right amount of soapy water. It will cause the film to slide really nice. So we got that landed. And we're just gonna slide down. It's a little crooked, but we're gonna straighten that out. Boom. All right, and I'm happy with that top edge. I'm gonna shift it a little bit. Happy with that top edge. So now we're gonna take our pink install tool and we're gonna squeegee out any liquid. And you could squeegee it out left to right or up or down once you get this top anchored. See, this shifted on me a little bit, so you got to be careful because depending on how much soapy water, which we did go heavier on the soapy water today just because of the temperature, it can shift like that. So just be mindful that that can happen. You don't want to push out your bottom half and have a light gap 2 inches on the top because all the film pulled down. So we're going to roll this up now. And we're going to squeegee out our bottom. So that's a driver rear window on these XP5s. Take our tool, squeegee out our side edge. We got no light gaps, no nothing. We can wipe down the door panel at this point and put our bottom gasket back in. Just try to make sure that we don't have any bubbles. I actually do have a bubble right here, so if you want to come here and look, I have a bubble right there. So that's kind of what you're looking for. And all you got to do is open your door and push it out. That'll push right out. And then you're good to go. So just make sure you double check your work. You don't want to leave something like that in. And then we'll move on to this front door here. We're gonna do the driver's front now. Again, we're just gonna remove the gasket. I find that like a plastic tool's handy to remove that. So now that that's out of our way, just gonna take a clean razor blade. And we're gonna razor blade this glass. Okay, we're gonna go down with the window. And we're gonna wipe off this top edge with our towel. Cool, that's clean. And we're gonna razor blade all of this. So I'm listening as I'm doing this. I don't hear any grit. I don't hear anything that's gonna be contaminants. So I'm gonna wet this. If you have a dirty machine, please do that twice. Again, we have the window set up on the peel board. We're gonna squeegee all of this down, thus rinsing any contaminations down into the bottom of the door panel. And then we're going to do a nice rinse for our install. Get all of this rinsed down, flush our edges here. Come over to our film, we're gonna peel the whole liner. We're gonna wet this. And we're gonna do a carry using the back of my hand. And then we're gonna drop this edge in. I like to use my knee to stabilize the door. We're gonna drop this edge in, and it's just dropping straight where it needs to go. I didn't touch anything else besides the window. And we're gonna get this positioned where it's happy. And we're just gonna squeegee this out. So now that we got this squeegeed, we're gonna roll this up, and then we're just gonna push all this down. Again, we're gonna wanna check for bubbles on the outside, and then we are gonna be ready to install our gasket after wiping our door panel. I want to check to make sure that we don't have any bubbles. That looks really good. So we'll reinstall our gasket. We'll move on to the windshield.